Hello, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about an important topic, something that takes probably a little bit of time to get on board with if you've been suffering for a long period of time, and that is productivity. So, what do I want to talk about when it comes down to productivity? I'm going to talk about basically what productivity is, how productivity can help you throughout your journey to recovery, excuse me, how productivity can potentially become compulsive, and why I believe productivity really brings basically someone who's really suffering to a greater potential of recovery. So let me talk again. I always like to give context about my story. So, as most of you know by now, seen a lot of my videos, I am a doctor of chiropractic. So that degree is about 3.5 years at the doctoral level. And my productivity has always been pretty good. Productivity is probably a combination of how productive you actually are when you're doing something. Are you paying attention? Are you focused on other things? Are you focused on the task at hand? And so forth. So for me, I have always enjoyed being productive. I've always enjoyed doing things. I'm not really a big fan of sitting around on the couch all day. I think my wife can attest to that. I really move a lot. So productivity was very important to me. But when I really started to suffer from OCD, my productivity basically turned off. It wasn't as if it slowly declined, it actually turned off. Just how my OCD suffering just completely started when I started developing chronic somatic OCD. So this was obviously very frightening for me. So let's talk about some of the feelings that happen there. If you're someone like me who's a very productive person, or if you're not, and then all of a sudden you can't focus on things, your anxiety is really high, and it can be really scary. So I really understand what you're going through because I really was in that position. So I felt like I couldn't concentrate on anything. I didn't even know how I was going to be able to get to class. When I did get to class, I wasn't really there. I had such bad depersonalization that I couldn't focus on anything at hand in my mind. I probably could have focused a little bit more if I really tried, but I was so scared at the time, and obviously, rightfully so, I was so hyper locked on all my sensations. I said to myself, what is going on? So, productivity and how it can help. There are different stages of productivity I have noticed for myself when you're going throughout your recovery journey. What do I mean by this? In the beginning, when you have no tools to apply, whether it's exposure response prevention, whether it's moving more with uncertainty, whether it's unconditional self-life or other acceptance, whatever the combination of your specific care is, it would be irrational to think that your productivity is going to go from 0 to 100 in a day, a week, a month, couple months. So my productivity is starting to finally get better, and everyone's journey is different. So again, for myself, I'm at the 6-month mark of recovery. I'm moving pretty fast at this pace, but I made a pact to myself, and I said, I'm going to be as productive as I can. And when I feel as if I'm not being productive, I'm going to continue to try no matter how many intrusive thoughts I have, no matter how anxious I am, no matter how many weird sensations I have that are making me focus on other aspects of my life. I'm going to try to just go forward. And that's not an easy thing to do. Again, so I definitely sympathize with you, with anyone's watching, on how debilitating this can be when you don't have these tools I mentioned, especially cognitive behavioral therapy wise, to be able to go through. Again, I always have to say this, since I'm a licensed practitioner, I am a chiropractor, so legally I cannot give advice on mental health counseling. But anyway, so how can productivity become compulsive? Productivity, or any aspect of life, can have a lot of benefits, okay? But things can become out of control. So I'll talk about myself, obviously, again. I like caffeine. Everyone that knows me knows that. I like coffee. I like pre-workout. But I had to take it out of my life for 4 or 5 months because it was becoming, even though it helped me with my productivity, it became way too compulsive. I started hiking every single day just because when I was hiking, it actually was a very big sense of relief. So it became a slight compulsion because I really didn't actually want to hike every day because my goal was more resistance training and it was interfering with some of my own goals. So if you're hyper focused on productivity, it can easily become compulsive in the beginning. So different stages of recovery, in my opinion, require different settings of how you should approach things. There could be areas in the beginning of your recovery where it's better to cut things out completely because you got to focus on certain aspects of your mental health in order to decrease distractions or the potential of distractions, and then go forward. And then maybe throughout, let's just use an 18-month period, maybe 4 to 8 months into your recovery, you start adding some of the things back that you didn't use at all, say caffeine for myself, or using social media not on a time frame, and learning how to be more productive through my business or any type of venture in my life through social media, but also being balanced. Like, so for myself, I don't use my email unless I'm sitting at my computer like I am right now in my office or in my wife and I's office. I won't. I don't bring my email with me. I try not to use social media too much when I'm outside of the house. It happens, and I'll beat myself up for it, and that's not going to happen overnight. Again, everything we're talking about comes in gradual stages. Nothing you do is going to be a light switch and just get better. So that is one. I want to go a little bit off topic about this whole aspect of productivity and every aspect of OCD. One of the biggest things you start to accept and realize is that this journey of OCD takes much longer than you thought. So it's okay to not be as productive in the beginning, or you always are comparing ourselves in society. Well, oh, this person's so much more productive than me. Look at the realm of the self-help realm. We see all these gurus and these people working 18 hours a day and they're shoving it down your throat. I'm better than you because I work this much. I'm superior. And it's very easy to fall down that trap for someone like myself who really thrives on that type of an atmosphere, to make yourself feel as if you're not good enough. And that's not a good thing. So one thing you really want to take into account when you're going through recovery with any aspect, whether it's productivity, whether it's social media usage, whether it's caffeine usage, whether it's X usage, is it a time in my recovery where I'm best off leaving it out completely? Is it a time where I can bring it back in timed intervals? Is it a time where I can bring it back fully? And if I can't handle it the way I thought I did, maybe you have to go backwards and on how the amount you're using something. I've done this multiple times. Working with Rob, we've brought caffeine back and then took it away, brought it back and took it away. And, the same thing was happening with my productivity. My productivity would go up, and it would go down for a couple weeks. It would go up, it would go down for a couple weeks. And it really was starting to bother me because I would say to myself, oh, I was so productive for these 2 weeks, and then why am I so not productive these last 3 days? And this is another important thing. Focusing, easier said than done, focusing on the way you feel and how you're comparing yourself from today to yesterday, in a lot of aspects, doesn't work for OCD recovery. If you're moving in the right direction and doing everything you believe you're capable of doing when it comes to your therapeutic approach, like I said, ERP, CBT, all that stuff, uncertainty, Albert Ellis readings, and so on and so forth, you're making progress, even if you don't think you are. But it's very easy to think that you're not being productive when you're in a state of chronic anxiety or chronic guilt or chronic fear and so forth. I think we all can agree on that, and we've all been through that aspect. No matter how far you are in your recovery, you know that it's very easy for the anxiety to feel as if it's so much that your productivity is completely gone. So for me, one of the biggest takeaways from this particular video on productivity is productivity and habits can go hand in hand. So setting yourself up with a good life structure is a great way to go about things. There are really good things about setting up exercise regimens, and I'm going to cover this completely on another topic, since this is a major specialty of mine, exercise physiology and so on and so forth. But, doing it in a way that it's balanced. We're not talking about being productive and going to the gym for 4 hours every day. That's overdoing it in multiple aspects. But we're talking about setting up a balanced day. So say productivity-wise, you make content. So you make a little schedule, maybe create a YouTube video once a week to start with. And then maybe you exercise 3 times a week and you go for a hike once a week, or you walk your dogs. Starting small. The biggest thing with OCD people is we like going from 0 to 100. From what my experience, a lot of us, it's boom. We don't want any small progression. We want it all now and no matter what. And that does not work in the productivity realm of recovery. So you must be productive. I'm not a big user of shoulds, must, and that, but Dr. Albert Ellis, if you read his work, there is certain aspects of life where you do talk about musts and shoulds, how they can be used properly. So a good example he used was I want to graduate college. I should do the work required, because you won't graduate college. No one is going to reach recovery without putting in the work, and putting in the work helps create productivity over a long period of time. So, and again, it's okay if you're not productive at all right now, you're sitting on your couch and you're freaking out and you don't know where you're going to go. Starting as small as you can is huge. That could be reading 5 pages of a book a day. That's it. That's productive, more productive than you're being. And you might have days where you freak out and you can't be any more productive. But that's okay. You regroup and you move forward. And you keep going forward and forward. And again, I talk about this every video. OCD recovery is not like this. OCD recovery is not like this. OCD recovery is like that. And that's pretty much for anything in life that requires attaining a long-term goal. Remember, what we're looking at here is long-term goals. Recovery, OCD recovery, the absence of anxiety and the absence of obsessions. So for me, that's not the absence of not having swallowing or salivation, because we all do that. It's the absence of my obsession about whether I'm going to be stuck or not, and the chronic anxiety that follows it. It's not about never feeling it again. It took me so long to realize that, okay? Then my productivity started to go up. Once my fears came down, my fears are going down, productivity started going up. And that's just how it goes. And it's not going to be easy. I just want you to know that. And that's going to be okay, because you have a great support system. We have the What's Up groups. Rob has that for a reason. It's really cool. So I hope that this video helps people in some way. Productivity is not the easiest thing to talk about. I understand that, especially when you're really suffering. But productivity can make a really big difference in your life for the long term. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.